Right, as mentioned earlier, we have KCB Deputy CEO Samuel Kimani standing by in Kenya. We had a bit of a technical issue. We've now eradicated that problem. So, Samuel, thank you very much for your time today. Let's look at the rights issue. Unfortunately, not fully subscribed, coming in at around 83%. You've raised around 12.45 billion shillings. You were hoping to raise 15 billion shillings. Were you disappointed at the fact that it wasn't fully or oversubscribed?
No, not at all. In fact, we think that was quite a success at 83%. 12.5 billion. Of course, we have been looking for this money for, to fund our business for the next 5 years. So we should be able to do that. With what we got, we should be able to fund our business growth for probably the next 3 years. And of course, there will be retentions of, from earnings in the years to come. So at 12.5 billion, we are quite happy, very happy.
Well, obviously now it's strengthened your capital position. Tell us about your future prospects. Of course, it is about capex spend and future prospects. Take us through those strategies.
Yes, out of the 12.5 billion shillings we have raised, about probably just slightly less than half will go towards expenses. Then the 12, we have got about 2 billion shillings we want to invest within the region. Our subsidiaries in the region, that's in Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania. And then about 10 billion shillings will go into funding our business growth in Kenya. A lot of it going into the corporate and the SME business and also on our mortgage business.
We know that competition is quite rife in the East African country. Give us an indication of what you plan to do to innovate yourselves as a bank. Of course, we know that you have been one of the few banks in the country to come to the fore and slash those lending rates.
Yes, we think that, we see a lot of prospects, especially in Kenya now after the referendum with the investment climate improving. We have slashed our lending rates, as you have just said, to a base rate of 13.5. And we see a lot of potential, especially in the SME business sector. Of course, with now capital of 35 billion shillings, we are well ahead of our competition in terms of capitalizations, and we will be able to do bigger deals. Our single borrower limit has just moved with this rights issue from about 4 billion, slightly over 4 billion to close to 7 billion shillings. So we are really well placed now to compete in this.
Looking at the loan book, looking at the deposits that are coming to the fore, we know things are relatively subdued at this point in time. We need to see the Kenyan consumer and various other consumers in which the regions in which you operate, like Tanzania and South Sudan, we need to see them come to the fore and, of course, create that demand scenario. Give us an indication of what your prospects are for your loan book and, of course, for your deposits as well.
Yes, of course, our biggest business remains in Kenya, but in Sudan, a lot of that business there is transaction-based because we really were part of, the few people, the first people to go there and do conventional banking. In Tanzania, we see great prospects. We have stepped up our presence in that country. We put in 8 new branches last year from 3. Now we have about 11. So we see a lot of deposit mobilization happening in that country.
You mentioned the referendum in Kenya. Everything went as planned, and of course a lot of positivity coming through, a lot of positive sentiments for Kenya. We also know that ahead of the referendum we saw some nice increases when it came to not only KCB's share price but various other banks and various other sectors as well. Tell us about the appetite that you have been seeing coming through, that is filtering through from on the ground, and of course the fact that foreign investors are still very interested in Kenyan assets.
Yes, we have seen a resurgence of interest in the market in Kenya, especially from the foreigners since the referendum, and that's a good thing. And we have seen share prices rallying, not just the KCB but across the board. So, and we know that will continue. We are very hopeful that will continue into next year, and the prospects really are very good with that outcome of the referendum with the climate.
Samuel, very quickly, just looking at the interest rate environment in Kenya, it's still relatively high. We touched on it earlier that we know that KCB has come to the fore and slashed lending rates. What is your view? Where do you see interest rates going from these levels?
Yeah, interest rates have come down in the last 2 months to the 12%, 13%, they should remain there, but of course on the corporate side you have those going from between 8 and 10, but on the retail side they will be between 12 to 15%, going into next year.
Thank you so very much for your time, Samuel. It's been a pleasure chatting to you. That was Samuel Kimani. He is the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of KCB. It's now back to you, Stephen.